Welcome back to the deep dive. You've sent us your sources, a stack of highly technical release notes from AWS covering December 9th through the 15th, 2025.
Right.
Today, we're going to cut through all that noise and deliver the crucial knowledge you need to really grasp what these announcements mean strategically.
And it was a powerhouse week. It really was. You can see AWS specializing the infrastructure layer more than ever before.
So what's our mission here?
Our mission is to extract the functional essence of these changes. We'll hit compute, data, and governance. And if I had to define the week, it's all about a push for higher throughput, much more refined cost management, and, some really impressive strides in Kubernetes automation.
Okay.
We are going straight into the specs, but we're focusing on the so what for you, for the technical users.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with just raw horsepower. Graviton 4 is clearly cementing its position.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing the introduction and expansion of the CHEB and CHEN instances.
Mm-hmm.
What's the key strategic difference between these two?
Well, what's fascinating here is that they're actively forcing architectural specialization to get the absolute best price performance. They're not just general purpose anymore, they're hyper-tuned.
Right.
So let's start with the C8GB. These are EBS optimized, and they deliver up to 30% better raw compute performance compared to their Graviton 3 predecessors.
30% is a huge generational leap. But the C series is usually all about computation. Why is the storage optimization so significant here?
Because modern applications are so rarely CPU-bound, they're I/O-bound. The real story in the CHEB is the bandwidth to the storage underneath.
Okay.
They offer up to 150 gigabits per second of dedicated EBS bandwidth, and that's coupled with up to 200 GBPs networking. This instance is designed for compute tasks that are just constantly pulling and writing massive amounts of data.
Like transactional analysis, that kind of thing.
Exactly, or intensive batch processing, where the bottleneck used to be just waiting for the storage volume to catch up.
And we noted a crucial detail. They support Elastic Fabric Adapter, EFA, but only on the larger sizes, the 16x large and up. Why gate it like that?
Right, so the 16x large cutoff, it signals that EFA, which is all about low latency, high scale communication between nodes, is really intended for those tightly coupled clusters.
So big jobs.
For the big jobs, right. Distributed file systems that truly require massive scale. It's an architectural choice that stops smaller non-distributed workloads from just consuming those specialized high demand fabric resources when they don't need them.
That makes a lot of sense. So let's pivot to this CAGN, the network optimized one. When you're pushing networking to 600 gigabits per second, what application can even saturate that pipe? What changed under the hood to make that possible?
The C8GN instances are powered by Graviton 4, of course, but they also feature the 6th generation AWS Nitro cards. That's the hardware enabling this leap.
The Nitro cards.
Mm-hmm. And at 600 GBPs network bandwidth, C8GN is now the fastest network-optimized EC2 instance available. This is crucial for network virtual appliances.
You mean like high-throughput firewalls, load balancers?
Exactly, deep packet inspection services. Previously, if you tried to run a multi-gigabit virtual appliance, the infrastructure itself was your bottleneck. Now, the bottleneck shifts entirely to the application layer.
Which is a game changer for high-volume network security.
And data analytics systems, absolutely.
So Graviton 4 is handling the scale-out and networking dominance. But what about that legacy heavy lifting? The stuff that needs extremely dense single-node capacity. We saw expansions in the XAG family and specialized Intel instances.
Exactly. The Graviton-based XAG instances, which are ideal for in-memory workloads like Redis or Memcache, they're expanding into Asia, Pacific, Sydney, and Europe, Stockholm.
And what's the performance lift there?
They deliver up to 60% better performance than the previous Graviton 2 XAG instances, scaling up to 3 terabytes of total memory. This is all about making those expensive in-memory caching layers just dramatically more efficient on a modern architecture.
And on the Intel side, we saw movements in I/O and high memory. Let's tackle the i7i storage optimized instances first.
The i7i instances use the 5th gen Intel Xeon Scalable processors, and they're seeing regional expansion. They offer up to 45 terabytes of dedicated NVMe storage.
Okay.
But the key spec here is the latency. We're talking up to 50% lower storage I/O latency compared to the i4i generation.
50%.
50%. For anyone running, say, high-volume relational databases or NoSQL stores, where every millisecond of I/O latency translates directly into end-user experience, that 50% drop is huge. It's a direct upgrade, no application changes needed.
And for those running truly massive massive mission-critical systems like SAP HANA, the high-memory U7i instances also saw expansion.
Oh, yeah, these are purpose-built systems. The U7i instances, which use DDR5 memory, are expanding their highest capacity sizes. So 6 terabytes, 16, 24 terabytes. They're rolling out to places like Frankfurt, Paris, and Mumbai.
And those are targeting what specifically?
Those are targeting the non-negotiable environments. SAP HANA, Oracle databases, where stability and massive memory pages are absolutely essential for operation.
That's a huge shift in the infrastructure layer. So we've established the performance, but performance means nothing without precision control.
Yeah.
Which brings us to containers. Kubernetes is getting much more granular with security. Let's dive into the EKS Enhanced Network Security Policies.
This update, it addresses a long-standing headache for cluster admins, especially in highly regulated environments. EKS now supports centralized enforcement of network access filters across the entire cluster.
Okay.
And the critical innovation is the introduction of DNS-based policies for securing egress traffic using fully qualified domain names, FQDNs.
Right, because the old way was relying on IP addresses, which in a massive cloud environment just churn and change constantly. FQDN is a huge relief, but what was the actual security pain point it solves?
The pain point was drift and compliance failure. I mean, if your container needed to talk to a third-party API, say paymentsapi.vendor.com, you previously had to rely on this constantly updated IP-based allow list. If that vendor rotated their IPs, your security rules broke, your app failed. Or worse, an attacker could leverage a wide-open IP rule to exfiltrate data.
I see.
FQDN policies provide a stable, human-readable method that only allows connections to that specific domain name. It dramatically tightens the security posture and just simplifies compliance audits.
That's a level of precision that developers will love.
Yeah.
And precision also matters during lifecycle events,
Right.
Like graceful shutdowns. Fargate users got a critical update for termination handling.
Oh, this solves a chronic issue. Engineers chasing down messy shutdown logs, intermittent failures. Before, when ECS stopped a Linux task on Fargate, it always sent sigterm, then a harsh sigkill.
Right, the default.
The default. But many applications are designed to respond best to a different signal, like sigquit or sigint, for truly graceful cleanup. Now, ECS honors the specific stop signal that's configured inside the OCI image itself.
So your application gets the correct preferred signal to shut down cleanly.
Precisely. It ensures data integrity and prevents failed health checks during deployment rollbacks.
And speaking of lifecycle management, one of the most tedious manual tasks in Kubernetes managing TLS certificates is now fully automated with a new ACM integration.
Yes. The integration of AWS Certificate Manager with AWS controllers for Kubernetes, or ACK, it just eliminates this massive operational burden. Previously, if you wanted to use an ACM cert in your K8s workload,
You had to manually export it, create a secret.
right, you had to export the certificate and key, create a Kubernetes secret, and this is the critical part, you had to manually update that secret every single time the certificate renewed.
Which, if you missed it, meant downtime or certificate expiry failures.
Exactly. Now, ACM and ACK automate the entire process. ACK provisions the certificate, places it correctly as a secret, and manages the renewal, updating it in place. It shifts TLS management from being an operational headache to a control plane capability.
Okay, that moves us neatly into the data layer. We're seeing acceleration not just in speed, but in intelligence. Let's talk about Amazon Aurora DEqual. The story here is just speed of iteration, right?
Absolutely. Aurora DEqual cluster creation time has been reduced from minutes down to mere seconds.
Seconds.
And when you pair that with the integrated query editor in the console, it means you get instant provisioning and really rapid prototyping. It just lowers the friction for developers to spin up a full database just to test a concept.
It brings that development loop closer to what you'd expect from serverless functions, not a whole database.
That's it. But the truly forward-looking feature here is the integration between Aurora PostgreSQL and something called Kiro powers.
Kiro powers. Explain what Kiro is adding to the database development lifecycle.
So Kiro Power represents the integration of AI assistants directly into the AWS control plane. For Aurora PostgreSQL, Kiro Power packages the Model Context Protocol, or MCP, server with targeted database-specific guidance.
Meaning the Kiro agent isn't just a generalist chatbot.
No, it gains instant specific expertise in really technical areas like Aurora PostgreSQL schema design or operational best practices.
So when a developer asks Kiro, how should I index this complex schema? The AI assistant immediately has the context, the cluster config, the query patterns, the docs, to give precise guidance right there on the console.
That is the essence of it. It's about injecting expert knowledge dynamically. It removes the need for developers to context switch between 5 different browser tabs. It just drastically shortens the development cycle.
Okay, let's switch gears to stream processing and transactional integrity. Elasticache Serverless added support for the Redis watch command. Why is this so critical for users moving to serverless caching?
The Redis watch command is the foundation for conditional transactions. Its arrival in Elasticache Serverless is critical for data consistency in high concurrency environments.
Thus so.
It guarantees that a transaction will only execute if the keys you're watching haven't been altered by another client. It prevents lost updates and race conditions.
But there's an important technical constraint here for developers, isn't there? Something about key placement.
There is. Since Elasticache Serverless uses Redis cluster, the watch command is only supported for same-slot transactions.
Okay, what does that mean in practice?
It means developers must use hashtags in their key names. For example, key usered, to make sure that all keys in that transaction hash to the identical slot. If you don't do this, the system will correctly throw a cross-lot error.
So it forces you to structure your keys correctly for consistency.
Exactly. It's a built-in reminder.
Speaking of data movement and resilience, MSK Replicator is showing massive regional expansion.
The expansion of MSK Replicator to 10 new regions, including really critical locations like Bahrain, Jakarta, and Zurich, that significantly bolsters resilience strategies for Kafka users.
And it does more than just replicate the data stream, right?
Way more. It reliably replicates the streaming data for business continuity, but more importantly, it handles all the required metadata replication automatically. Topic configurations, ACLs, consumer group offsets, it's all handled. It enables a seamless failover without manual reconfiguration.
And finally in data, large-scale migrations just got a speed boost. DataSync Enhanced Mode is expanding to on-prem file servers.
This is huge, especially for moving datasets that are typically bottlenecked by file count or concurrency limits. Enhanced Mode, which allows for parallel processing and removes file count limits, now supports high-performance transfers directly from on-premises NFS or SMB file servers straight to S3.
So for things like AML training data, this could be a major accelerator.
Oh, for massive data lake syncs, this acceleration can cut migration timelines drastically.
Moving into our final segment, governance, visibility, and operational efficiency. The most strategically impactful announcement this week seems to be around FinOps, and specifically linking it to identity.
If you manage cloud costs in a large enterprise, this is the strategic shift you've been waiting for. AWS applications like QBusiness, QDeveloper, QuickSight, they can now allocate their monthly fees using existing workforce attributes.
Attributes like cost center, division, department.
All things that are centrally managed and imported through IAM Identity Center.
So instead of trying to correlate usage to some cryptic account ID, FinOps pros get immediate contextual visibility in Cost Explorer. You know exactly which internal teams are driving which costs.
It's not just tagging, it's embedding financial accountability at the source of identity. It creates a foundational link between who you are and what you spend.
And there were some smaller updates to the billing dashboards to support this.
Complementing this, they added PDF export that maintains consistent formatting for your stakeholder reports and the ability to download individual widget data as a CSV for more detailed analysis.
Let's cover security updates that enhance visibility, starting with Cognito identity pools and Private Link.
This is all about eliminating unnecessary public exposure. Cognito identity pools now support AWS Private Link. It enables private connectivity for exchanging federated identities for AWS credentials between your VPC and Cognito.
So no more routing that authentication traffic over the public internet.
Exactly. It just tightens the security perimeter by default.
And for centralizing network security, AWS Shield Network Security Director now supports multi-account analysis.
Right. This feature is in preview, but it's a huge boon for centralized security teams. A delegated admin can manage continuous network analysis and view the consolidated topology, findings, and remediation steps across multiple accounts or OUs.
Just simplifies the operational complexity of managing security at scale.
Drastically.
We also saw proactive governance tools getting a boost, with AWS Systems Manager stepping up for SAP.
Yeah, the Systems Manager Configuration Manager for SAP ABAP applications now automatically tests them against the best practices defined in the AWS Well-Architected Framework SAP Lens. It's a crucial proactive move.
So SAP admins can find and fix misconfigurations before they cause problems.
Before they translate into performance degradation or security issues, it's a big operational efficiency gain.
To wrap up efficiency, let's look at a subtle performance update in CloudWatch that affects monitoring at scale.
The CloudWatch SDK now supports the Concise Binary Object Representation, or CBOR, protocol.
Okay, what's the technical implication of that?
Lower end-to-end processing latency and reduced payload sizes. For customers managing vast monitoring resources or using infrastructure as code to control their metrics, moving to CBOR translates directly into optimized CPU and memory usage. It just makes the control plane itself more efficient.
And finally, Amazon Bracket is catching up with the latest in quantum frameworks.
Yes, Bracket now fully supports Qiskit 2.0. This includes native implementations of the sampler and estimator primitives. By leveraging Bracket's program sets for optimized batching, they're reducing execution time and costs.
So it gives quantum developers the performance and control they need on Bracket's hardware. Okay, that covers our deep dive. The Graviton 4 Surge, the precision control in containers, the AI-assisted data plane, and those deeply integrated FinOps governance tools.
The overriding takeaway this week isn't just about isolated features, it's about convergence. We're seeing performance tied directly to specialized architecture, AI assistance integrated into the core developer loop, and governance fundamentally linked to identity.
Right.
The cloud is getting simultaneously faster and more granularly accountable.
Agreed. And that linkage leads directly to a final thought for you to chew on this week. The shift to attribute-based cost allocation using IAM Identity Center. It essentially embeds FinOps accountability directly into identity management. How drastically will this change the definition of security and governance when every single action taken by a user is automatically tagged and associated with a measurable financial outcome?
Something to consider as those two disciplines merge.
Indeed. We've hit the core of what you need to know from this week's technical stack. That's all the time we have for this deep dive. Join us next time.